On my 10th wedding anniversary, my wedding ring was on someone else's hand. When I got off the operating table, I thought it through and drafted a divorce agreement for him. His girlfriend was so anxious that she burst into tears. Mrs. Liu, the ring is so beautiful. I couldn't help it. Mr. Liu just lent it to me to try it on. There is really no other intention. Mateo Liu protected her behind him and said to me, "Okay, just don't regret it." But half a month later, Mateo Liu regretted it. "Why didn't you cook?" Mateo Liu returned home. He acted as if nothing had happened and frowned when he saw the empty dining table. Normally, whenever he came home at this time, the dinner table would be filled with his favorite side dishes. Not today, and he naturally thought that I had no appetite because he didn't come back. What's the cruelest thing done to you in the name of love? Tell me below. First, the heart breaks, then, karma breaks them. Who decided that being kind meant being silent? In fact, I just got back from a big meal out. He put down his suitcase, rolled up his sleeves and went into the kitchen, while he was bringing out another bowl of steaming egg noodles. I was still reading the accounting documents in my hand with great interest. He placed the egg noodles in front of me, then took out a pure gold bracelet from his pocket and handed it to me. "That's just to coax me." I looked at the bowl of noodles and the big gold bracelet on the table. Since when did this become his way of coaxing me? I remember that before we got married, he had many ways to coax me. He would hug me and call me his wife, and then produce a flower like a magic trick. He would take me for a bike ride, a boat trip, and a long walk. As for gold bracelets, I actually like them too because I think they are the most valuable jewelry. Then the diamond necklaces and Cartier that Mateo Liu gave me, but compared to sincerity, any material things will seem perfunctory. In the past, as long as he put aside his attitude, I would eat up a bowl of egg noodles to show my support, praise him a few words, and then the matter would be over. But today, I've eaten. I said, "When are you free? Let's go get a divorce." Mateo Liu is very busy. After all, he is in charge of several companies, so I am always willing to accommodate him in terms of time. But it was obvious that Mateo Liu didn't want to appreciate my kindness. He threw the gold bracelet onto the table, and felt a little depressed. "I've already explained the ring. Esme said it looked nice, so I lent it to her. I didn't expect you would mind it so much." Unexpectedly, did he not expect it? Or has my affairs become unimportant to him? Mateo Liu and I are each other's first love. They met in high school and then entered a stable relationship in college. There are no unforgettable scenes, only the boy's stunning first sight. He said that one afternoon. I was sitting under a cherry tree reading a book. When the wind blew, the petals fell. Like a dream, I became the white moonlight that could not be erased in his heart. He started to pursue me, but I was a poor kid and studying was very important to me. So I told him that if he could get into the same university as me, I would agree to be his girlfriend. Since then, Mateo Liu never contacted me again, and I thought he had given up, until the day when the admission letter came. He ran to find me excitedly, but saw my mother jumping off the roof. My family is very poor, so poor that we often can't even afford my tuition. But even though he was poor, my dad always managed to attract some pretty girls with his eloquent mouth. My mother was used to it. But that day, a woman broke into my house, snatched my mother's ring and put it on her hand. She said it should be hers, and she said my mother was ugly, old, and useless. The first time, my mom called my dad to make a fuss, but my dad said, "It's just a ring. Why are you making such a fuss about it?" After hanging up the phone, my mother curled up on the sofa and muttered to herself, crying and saying, "It's gone, it's gone, everything is gone." Later, my mother jumped from the rooftop of our building and died on the spot. Mateo Liu stayed with me for a long time that day, until my dad came back and I had a fight with him. Mateo Liu was always taking sides. He didn't care when I hit my dad, but when my dad fought back, he went up and grabbed my dad. That day I beat my dad so badly that his face was bruised and blue. Later I told Mateo Liu, "In this life, if anyone dares to wear my wedding ring, I will chop off her hand." Mateo Liu touched my head and said, "If you marry me, I promise not to let anyone touch your wedding ring, because it is yours and belongs only to you." I probably really fell in love with Mateo Liu starting from this sentence. I think Mateo Liu has a very positive view on marriage, but now it seems that everything will change. Seeing that I hadn't spoken for a long time, Mateo Liu changed the subject. "When is my son's piano performance exam?" "I don't know. You should ask your mother." Mateo Liu's parents have never liked me and think that Mateo Liu and I are not a good match. So after I gave birth to my son, they found a reason to take the child to the old house to raise him. At first, I often went to see the child, but they refused to let me see the child because the child was sleeping or in class. It's not like I haven't had arguments with Matteo Lu, but he always tells me, "That's my mother, how can they harm the child?" Matteo Lu frowned and put on a condescending tone again. "You should focus more on your son. Look, he's closer to Esme than to you now." I closed the book, feeling a little impatient. "Isn't that great? This way, after we get divorced, Esme won't have to rebuild her relationship with her son. That's enough." Matteo Lu seemed to have hit a sore spot with me, and he was furious. "You are jealous all day long. Do you still look like a mother now?" I wondered, is it my fault that I can't act like a mother? His parents looked down on me, but they looked up to Esme very much. Esme is an overseas returnee. Her family is a family friend of Matteo Lu. After returning to China, she entered Matteo Lu's company as a secretary under the guise of her ability. They came in and out of the company in pairs, stayed in the same suite when on business trips, and even went to school to pick up our son together. Even his parents always asked Matteo Lu to take Esme back to the old house for dinner. I always feel that Esme is more like his wife than me. I didn't really want to have an argument with Matteo Lu, but I was just too emotional. "Yes, you are right. I had an abortion because I was not a good mother." I looked at Matteo Lu with red eyes, and his fists clenched tighter and tighter. On a rainy night half a month ago, Matteo Lu and I returned from the old house. On the way, he received a call from Esme, and he left me on the side of the road and told me to take a taxi back, by myself. It was raining heavily and dark that day. I couldn't get a taxi and fell down. That's when I miscarried. Gone with the child was my last bit of fondness for Matteo Lu. Even though he later admitted his mistake to me and explained that Esme was being followed and the situation was urgent, I still felt no ripples in my heart. I think it's time for us to end. Over the past 10 years, we have had countless arguments. Every time, Matteo Lu would rush into the study room angrily and slam the door shut to end the argument. This time is no exception. The only exception is that I never want to make peace again. I took out my packed luggage, placed the divorce agreement in the most conspicuous place on the coffee table, and left without looking back. I am back in the house I once called home. I haven't been back for 14 years, ever since I beat my dad up in this house. After leaving that year, Matteo Lu and I rented a small house near the university. At that time, his parents were against us being together. Matteo Lu's stubbornness angered his father, who told him to fend for himself and cut off all his living expenses. So Matteo Lu and I worked part-time to pay for our studies. Apart from attending classes, we spent almost all our time working. It was obviously very hard, but later on, that time became our only happy and beautiful memory over the years. I received the key to the house one night 5 years ago, before my father died of cancer. He left this only house to me. I have had the key to the house in my hand for 5 years, but I have never dared to come back to visit, because every time I come here, I think of my mother. And now, this has become my only safe haven. The next day after I came back, Matteo Lu called me, but I didn't answer, so he never called me again. Esme in the corridor. When she saw me, she looked surprised and flustered. "Mrs. Lu, there's really nothing going on between Mr. Lu and me. He sent me to the hospital because I sprained my foot." Seeing that I didn't say anything, she seemed to have just noticed the medicine in my hand. "Mrs. Lu, are you feeling unwell? I heard from Mr. Lu that your child." "I'm really sorry. It's all because of me." I nodded. "It's indeed because of you, but it doesn't matter anymore." I was about to leave when Matteo Lu came over with a sullen face. He handed the medicine bag in his hand to Esme and snatched my medicine away. "Are you sick? Why didn't you contact me?" After opening the bag and seeing the replenishing medicine inside, his expression became a little stiff. He must have remembered it. Out of guilt, he said he would accompany me for a follow-up check. I told him the time. He turned to Esme and asked, "I told you before that my wife had a follow-up checkup today and asked you to remind me." Esme's face was instantly flustered. "I'm sorry, I forgot. Arranging the boss's schedule is the most basic duty of a secretary. I was too lazy to watch their duet, so I took the medicine and left." Matteo Lu quickly caught up with me, grabbed my wrist, and his tone revealed impatience. "Maeve, how long are you going to make a fuss? Even if I forgot about today's matter, couldn't you just call and remind me?" "I'm not making a fuss." I slowly peeled his hand off my wrist, speaking calmly. "Matteo Lu, this is the hospital." He understood the hidden meaning in my words and stopped pestering me, offering to take me home. Esme behind him and just smiled faintly. No need. Miss Song seems to need someone to send her off more than me. After saying that, I waved to Esme and walked out of the hospital. Behind him, the sound of Mateo Lu's footsteps chasing him and Esme's exclamation could be heard. Esme fall and Mateo Lu paused through the glass at the door, so I quickened my pace and walked out the door. A week later I wanted to call Mateo Lu to ask if the divorce agreement had been signed. As soon as I took out my cell phone, Mother Lu's number popped up on the phone. I hesitated for a moment and then picked up the phone. Mom, the son's small, hoarse voice came from the other end of the phone. Before I could ask, his voice started to sound a little aggrieved. Why didn't you come to see me when I was sick? Do you really not want me anymore? As Auntie Song said, Kian, are you sick? When? Before I could ask clearly, the call was hung up. Remembering my son's words, I immediately drove to the old house. In the old house, the Lu family sat around the dining table in full force. Seeing me arrive, Mateo Lu stood up from the table with a frown and lectured me. Remember, today is a family dinner. You haven't been home for several days. I thought you already thought you didn't have this family. I ignored him and walked straight to my son, touched his tender little face and asked, "What's wrong with you? Have you seen a doctor?" My son's eyes were red and he turned his head away, obviously still angry with me. Esme smiled and patted my son's head. "It's just a minor cold. He's almost recovered." Why did Maeve suddenly think of Kian? If Esme hadn't spoken, I wouldn't have noticed her. Now I see that she and Mateo Lu are sitting on either side of my son. If you didn't know, you'd think they were a family of three. I took my son down from his seat, walked around to the sofa, and apologized sincerely. "I'm sorry, Kian. I really didn't know you were sick. But you see, as soon as you called me, I came. Don't be angry, okay?" Little tears fell from his eyes, and his son tugged at the corner of his clothes and nodded. "Then wait here for your mother for a while." I kissed his forehead, stood up and walked towards Esme. "Pa." In front of everyone's surprised gaze, I slapped Esme in the face. "You are an extrovert by nature. I can't blame you for liking someone else's husband. After all, flies don't bite seamless eggs. But you talked nonsense in front of my son, so I have to teach you a lesson." Esme covered her face and hid behind Mateo Lu, tears falling down her face. Mateo Lu's eyes turned red with anger, and he yelled at me, "Maeve, why you? What do you look like?" That's right. He has no manners at all and just starts hitting people. Mateo Lu's sister Lumoya rolled her eyes and looked at me with contempt. I laughed, and all the grievances I had suffered over the years came flooding back to my mind. "Mateo Lu, I have endured for you for so many years. Have you ever felt how difficult it is for me?" Facing Mateo Lu's warning gaze, I lifted the tablecloth with force. For a moment, shrill screams and the crisp sound of discs falling to the ground could be heard one after another. I picked up another chair and threw it out. The chair flew past Lu Moyao, and she was so scared that she fell to the ground and looked at me in horror. "Crazy, crazy." Mateo Lu's mother rushed over and wanted to hit me, so I picked up the red wine bottle on the ground and smashed it on the table. The bottle broke into pieces and the fragments rubbed the back of my hand, leaving a bloody mark. Mateo Lu's face turned pale for a moment. "Maeve," he took a step forward, but was stopped by the half-broken red wine bottle in my hand. I raised my hand and pointed the sharp, uneven end at Mother Lu, who was about to rush over. "Kian is my son. I carried him for 9 months and gave birth to him. Why did you take him away and stop me from seeing him? Now he even refuses to tell me that he is sick. You look down on me, but you can't stop Mateo Lu from marrying me, so you take all your anger out on me." I turned my sight and aimed at Mateo Lu again. "I've been married to you for 10 years, and I've endured this family for 10 years. You ask me what I look like. Mateo Lu, have you forgotten what I should look like? I have never been someone who is easy to bully, otherwise I wouldn't even dare to beat my dad. But for Mateo Lu, I always swallowed my anger and backed down again and again, in the face of the troubles and ridicule from his parents and sister. Now that I think about it, how is the decision I made different from the one my mother made? My mother's repeated tolerance led to the aggressive pressure from the mistresses. My repeated tolerance allowed Esme to bully my son. I have been so wrong over the years. Mateo Lu, I want to change the content of the divorce agreement. Kian, I want to take him away." After throwing away the glass bottle, I gently picked up my son and walked out of the Lu residence in silence. When the car was about to start, Mateo Lu chased out and Esme chased after him. I turned my head and smiled at my son in the back seat, then stepped on the accelerator and sped away. I took my son to the hospital first. Fortunately, just as Esme said, My son only had a mild cold and is almost recovered. After taking him home, I felt a little guilty. Kian, your mother took you away without your consent. Will you be unhappy? Kian shook his head, hugged my neck, and spoke softly. I want to be with my mom. My eyes are sore. It turns out that there was someone in the Liu family who loved me. It was just that I didn't see them often. I thought my son's feelings for me would become very weak. I held back my tears and smiled. But my place is small, and my house isn't as nice as my grandma's. I probably won't be able to take those piano lessons if I follow my mom. Chinchin didn't say anything. Just when I was thinking that bringing him out was a wrong decision, his low voice sounded again. Will it be hard for my mother if I follow her? Maybe a little, but mom will be happier. This time, I really couldn't hold it back, and my tears fell down, soaking Kian's shoulders. It was already late after I coaxed Kian to sleep. Only then did I realize that Mateo Lu called me many times, probably because no one answered the call. He sent a lot of text messages. He said he wanted to talk to me and that he was wrong about the ring, but I had gone too far this time, so let's just call it even. Then he asked me if I really wanted a divorce. How could I be so cruel after 10 years of relationship? I flipped through the posts one by one and saw the last one, where he said, "Send my son back to me. I won't let him go." When I saw this text message, I was stunned for a long time. I didn't want to fight with him for the custody of our son, because I felt I couldn't give Kian a good life. But what Kian said today made me change my mind. Kian wants love more than material conditions. I didn't reply to Mateo Lu, just as he chose to ignore me every time I was hysterical. I started sending out resumes widely and began to frequently visit law firms. If I want to get a divorce and fight for custody, I have to make a lot of preparations in advance. He Nanchan, the firm's top lawyer, is a very enthusiastic person. Seeing that I was always running around with my children, he suggested that we meet near my home to talk, and he said he wouldn't charge more. I was embarrassed to trouble him at first, but it was not convenient to bring my son with me. I thought that I was a client after all, so I tried to make appointments with him a few times. After they got to know each other, he came directly to my house. Mateo Lu came over. He happened to meet Nanchan in the elevator. When I opened the door, I raised an eyebrow in surprise when I saw Mateo Lu. Nanchan was an appointment, but Mateo Lu was not. I invited Nanchan in to block Mateo Lu. "What are you doing here?" Mateo Lu didn't answer, but looked at Nanchan's back with cold eyes. "Who is he?" "I don't think I need to answer your question. If you have nothing to do, please go back." As I said that, I pushed the door open. When it was about to close, Mateo Lu pushed the door hard, and I was hit against the wall by the unexpected force. Seeing this, Nanchan took 2 steps forward and pulled me out of the gap. "Sir, you hurt someone." "I didn't mean to, Maeve." Mateo Lu pushed Nanchan away with an ugly look on his face, and reached out to help me, but I dodged him. I didn't want to pay attention to Mateo Lu at first, but Nanchan persuaded me. He thought it would be better for Mateo Lu and I to sit down and talk. As soon as the 3 of us sat down, Kian woke up from his nap and came out, rubbing his sleepy eyes. He saw Mateo Lu. His eyes sparkled with surprise and he threw himself into Mateo Lu's arms. "Dad, are you moving in with us?" Mateo Lu looked at me and said nothing. Nanchan spoke at this time. "Kian, if Dad and Mom can't live together, who do you most want to live with?" Kian opened his innocent and misty eyes and asked, "Why can't Dad and Mom live together? Other children's dads and moms all live together." After hearing this, Mateo Lu and I looked at each other at the same time, but I quickly turned my head away. "Of course Dad and Mom live together. Kian will move back too. We will live together as a family of 3. Okay." I suddenly feel a little disgusted with Mateo Lu. Why does he always habitually ignore problems and gloss over them? I said, "Mateo Lu, I'm not going back with you." Kian looked at me, then looked at Mateo Lu, broke away from him, and nestled into my arms. "If Mom doesn't go back, I'll live with her. Dad is very busy. He will only send Kian to Grandma's house." Kian with an ambiguous smile. "Isn't it good to live at Grandma's house?" Kian grabbed the corner of my clothes and pursed his lips and replied, "No." But Kian doesn't like what Grandma said. Grandma said that Mom doesn't want Kian. And Aunt also said bad things about Mom. Aunt Song also said that Mom has a new baby and doesn't want Kian anymore. They are all lying. Mom loves Kian very much. These days, Mom holds Kian to sleep every day. Mateo Lu's face turned pale. He stood up in panic, his voice trembling. "They often tell you this." Kian nodded vigorously. Mateo Lu left. Kian looked up and asked me, "Mom, are you going to divorce Dad?" I choked. not knowing how to tell him since he was still so young. Children are actually very sensitive, Nanshan said gently. Don't lie to them just because they are young. Children actually understand much more than you adults think. So, under Kian's inquiring gaze, I nodded. After a while, Kian added, actually, I don't like Aunt Song at all. Yeah, I smiled and touched his head. Mateo Lu for a long time. I only occasionally heard people say that there was a luxury car parked in the alley every night. The uncles and aunts speculated that it might be a rich man from somewhere who was keeping a mistress here. My son and I still go in and out carefree. He said he didn't like playing the piano at all, and being forced to play for 2 hours every day was very tiring. He said his small feet often couldn't reach the pedals. I teased him and said that it was because his legs were short and he needed to eat more meat to make his legs longer. As we were chatting and laughing, the doorbell rang, and I unexpectedly saw Mateo Lu's mother through the peephole. I actually didn't want to let her in, but considering her health condition, I still invited her in. Kian didn't seem to want to see her. He politely called out, "Grandma," and ran into the room, closed the door, and never came out again. Mother Lu's expression became visibly depressed. That afternoon, Mother Lu said a lot. She said that Mateo Lu got very angry when he got home, and fired Esme regardless of his friendship with the Song family. Esme went to the company to make a scene and was scolded by Mateo Lu. In the lobby, they scolded her for telling lies all the time and for sowing discord between couples and mothers and children. Esme had never been so embarrassed before. She immediately rushed out of the company and never went back. She said Mateo Lu moved all his and Kian's things out of the old house and he didn't want them anymore. He said it was because of them that his family was ruined. Then, Mother Lu apologized to me and said that she hoped I would take Kian back with me. To this end, she could ask Father Mateo Lu to give me 2 points of the company's original shares. I refused. They didn't understand that between Mateo Lu and I, it was never about money. They thought of using money to solve the problem, but in the end, they still looked down on me. They came to me to apologize only because they didn't want to lose their son Mateo Lu, just like they had to nod and agree to my marriage with Mateo Lu. After Lu's mother left, Kian was obviously in a bad mood. To cheer him up, I took him to a nearby park. Unexpectedly, I met my childhood friend Wen Xingzhu in the park. Her daughter is about the same age as Kian. When the 2 children were playing together, Wen Xingzhu asked about my recent situation. I thought about it and told her the truth. Wen Xingzhu is still the same as he was when he was a child, with a straightforward and strong personality. She cursed Mateo Lu as a scumbag and told me not to forgive him. She said that men are like dogs that never change their bad habits. Even if you forgive him, he will be even worse next time. After she finished cursing, she turned around and saw Mateo Lu standing behind her with a green face. Wen Xingzhu didn't back down either. She cursed him a few more times in front of him. Finally, she took her daughter and exchanged contact information with me before leaving. After not seeing him for a while, Mateo Lu has lost a lot of weight. He said he wanted to talk to me, so I took him home. Sorry. As soon as we sat down, Mateo Lu apologized to me with an apologetic look on his face. Mateo Lu said sorry to me since we got married. I even looked at the sun outside through the glass. Are you disappointed in me? Mateo Lu continued to ask me. I thought about it and it would be a lie to say I wasn't disappointed, but that seems to be a thing of the past. How do I feel about Mateo Lu now? Probably just a little more understanding than a stranger, seeing that I didn't say anything. Mateo Lu laughed at himself. I know that all of this is my own fault. I have no right to ask for your forgiveness, but Maeve, I can't let it go. I sighed. After all, I had loved him, and I still hoped that he would live a good life. Mateo Lu, how do you know you can't let go if you don't try? I once thought I couldn't let go, so I endured for 10 years. In fact, leaving was not a sudden decision. I actually thought about leaving every day and night. When you were called away from me, every time you treated me coldly after a quarrel, and every time you ignored my feelings. I am just like you now, unable to let go, so I struggled and swallowed everything in pain silently. But everyone has to let go. Mateo Lu, and you too. Mateo Lu shook his head with red eyes, and suddenly saw the furnishings in the hall, and looked around with tears in his eyes. Maeve, it's actually because of the ring, right? Esme touched the ring, and you felt that the only thing I gave you had changed, but it never was. Maeve, there was nothing between Esme and me. I have only loved you in my life. I'll buy you a new ring. Okay, give me one more chance, and I promise that no woman will ever dare to touch your ring again. Seeing me shaking my head, The light in Mateo Lu's eyes gradually dimmed. Maeve, you can't do this. We once promised to be together forever and that neither of us would abandon the other. We also said that we would grow old together and then be buried together. How can you be so cruel now that you won't even give me a chance? Have you changed your mind? You like that Hinanshan, right? I asked him. If I really change my mind, will you feel better? Mateo Lu suddenly looked up at me, then lowered his head again after a long time. Maeve, I don't really mean that. I know. We all know too well what it feels like to like someone or dislike someone. Mateo Lu and I saw each other. Our eyes would always sparkle with a bright light, which was happy, lively and represented a kind of happiness. So as long as that person appears, there will only be him/her in your sight, and there will be no room for anyone else. Hinanshan and I are not like this. I'll cook you another bowl of noodles. I looked at the pleading look in Mateo Lu's eyes and nodded. Make 2 bowls. Mateo Lu walked into the kitchen and I leaned against the doorframe to guide him to get something. Suddenly I remembered that this scene is very similar to the rental house next to the university. Mateo Lu has been spoiled since he was a child and has never cooked. But one day I had a fever and hadn't eaten all day. In the middle of the night, I suddenly felt hungry and wanted to eat egg noodles. Mateo Lu got up and went into the kitchen without saying a word. It was his first time cooking noodles. He struggled for a long time, and the noodles were all mushy. The eggs were a little burnt, and blisters formed on his hands. But since then, he often cooked egg noodles for me. Just like now, he cooked noodles and I leaned against the door frame to watch him. Coming out of my memories, I turned and left the door. Being stuck in memories all the time does no one any good. After a while, Mateo Lu brought the noodles over. We didn't talk to each other and just concentrated on eating noodles. This should be the last time I eat noodles cooked by Mateo Lu, but I still cherish it very much and chew it slowly, bite by bite. But Mateo Lu started crying while eating. Why? Why did even the taste of the noodles change? I put down my chopsticks and watched him cry. Yes, everything changes. Therefore, in this life, you should cherish what you have while you have it, because it is very likely that you only need to turn around, and when you look back, everything will be different. That night, Mateo Lu asked to stay because he wanted to sleep with his son. I agree. When I woke up the next day, there was a table full of breakfast, almost all of which were my favorite foods. Mateo Lu left, and his son was the only one left in the room, sleeping soundly. A few days later, I received a lot of express deliveries, most of which were my son's things. Clothes, toys, books, and even a piano were sent. I looked at my son in embarrassment. We can't leave it at home. The son tilted his head and said, aren't we moving? Dad said the house across from Little Rainbow Kindergarten is for Mom to live in. That house is so big. As he was talking, Mateo Lu sent a message. I agree to the divorce, and you have to accept the division of property. Otherwise, I will be worried if Kian follows you. Opposite Little Rainbow, 308 is 1 floor per apartment, and the password is your birthday. It is safe to live there, and it is also convenient for Kian to go to school. I looked at this house that got a little damp when it rained, and said to my son, okay, let's move. Kian and I went to take a look at the house first. The house was decorated and had all the furniture and appliances, especially the children's room. Kian loves it so much. I immediately called the moving company and moved in overnight. When I paid, I couldn't help cursing Mateo Lu in my heart. Why didn't he send the goods here in the first place? He made me pay so much more. A month later, Hinanshan came to me with a divorce agreement. He walked around my new house and said, oh, it's great to have money. I washed a plate of fruit and sat down to talk with him. He told me that Mateo Lu went to see him after he left me that day. Mateo Lu asked a lot of questions, but Hinanshan only answered with one sentence. The best relationship between a husband and wife is to complement each other. It's good to be together or not together. Later, Mateo Lu handed over all the divorce matters to Hinanshan. After signing, I asked Hinanshan about Mateo Lu's recent situation. Hinanshan said he was in a very bad condition. He said Mateo Lu was sick, with repeated fevers, and the hospital couldn't figure out what was wrong. Later, when the fever subsided, he began to lose his appetite and sleep, and became terribly thin. Hinanshan said, don't go to see him. He is getting better. I said, I know that people will always feel a little hurt after experiencing major changes. For example, after losing my second child, I suffered from insomnia for a long time, and even when I did fall asleep I was awakened by nightmares. But if you get through it, everything will be fine. After the divorce, I can be considered a wealthy woman with some assets. When Xingzhu was very puzzled when he heard that I was looking for a job, she said, "You are so rich now, why are you still looking for a job?" I answered her, "People still need to find their own social value in order to live a meaningful life." She thought it made sense, so without saying anything, she asked for me to go to the accounting department of their company. I am very grateful to her. After all, I had submitted many resumes before, but no one wanted me because I had no social experience. I am very satisfied with my accounting job. It is an easy 9-to-5 job and it does not interfere with my time with my son. I no longer have to worry about food and clothing after marrying Mateo Lu. I often feel empty and confused. After I started working, this feeling never appeared again. Moreover, the atmosphere among colleagues is very good. The company holds team building activities from time to time. It is like a big family and very lively. Mateo Lu also often visits his son, and will take his son to stay with him for a while when his mother cries and misses her grandson. I have no objection. As long as Kian is happy, I will still give him the utmost respect. He Nanshan has been in touch with us recently. He has a crush on a girl and he wants to have barbecue with me. He said the girl was as quiet as a chrysanthemum and he didn't know how to pursue her, so he was very worried. I put forward a few ideas, but he Nanshan felt that none of them were his style. This has me stumped. Mateo Lu rolled his eyes at him and said, "Just try chasing him with a stick." I was a little dumbfounded. Mateo Lu's temperament seemed to have returned to the time when we were in college. He can tell jokes and is much more approachable. He Nanshan got him drunk. When the show was over, he Nanshan carried Mateo Lu and asked me, "Do you two plan to stay single forever?" I haven't actually thought about this question. I don't think I will go into the dead end of not getting married, nor do I expect love to knock on my door. I am enjoying every moment of the present moment. Fate comes and goes. It seems everything is up to fate. If you've ever had to silence your own voice to keep the peace, or dim your light so others could feel bright, let me know in the comments that you're done playing small. Your truth has a right to take up space, and their karma is long overdue. Subscribe to Red Karma for more stories of unapologetic power. It's your turn to write the ending.